Right. Good evening. This is Rudy Giuliani, and this is America's Mayor live at a very, I think, crucial time for America. The rumors and reports of a possible military action with Iran are flooding the place. Unfortunately, none of it really definitive, or maybe fortunately, none of it definitive. The White House has not acknowledged it. It may very well not be true. That's a possibility. However, the abundance of it makes it impossible to ignore. According to all of the reports, the American embassies in the area around Iran are being told to get rid of unnecessary personnel, secure themselves. There are also reports that we've deployed troops there and more naval, more ships and possibly more aircraft. Now, that could be all for putting ourselves in a defensive posture should Israel attack Iran. Iran has said if Israel attacks, they will assume that we have assisted them, and we probably will assist them, but not actually be part of the attack. That's my assumption, at least. So that gives Iran the choice of whether they want to go to war with us or not. So if Iran strikes only Israel back, we probably continue to help them. But if Iran does what they say they're going to do, which is hit an American base, then that's completely, I mean, there's just any choice. You've got to hit them back and hit them back so they can't hit another base. So that's where we are. Is it serious? I don't know. I don't know. There's no question that within the last few days, both the MEK that we reported on 2 days ago, and now it's been confirmed by other sources, has discovered a much more extensive nuclear weapons program in the Semnon Desert. Ted, I think, has it up on the board there. Now, you'll notice on the map, you'll see over on the left of the map, Tehran province. That's where Tehran is, the capital of, it's a city within the province of Tehran. But this is a very large desert, kind of in the north center of Iran, called the Semnon Desert. Not heavily populated. And the areas that you see, depending on the color coding, are isolated from the public. The ones in red are only very necessary personnel are allowed to enter there. And those are the places where they are developing delivery systems. And they are extending the length of those delivery systems because the nuclear weapons are useless without a delivery system, correct? I mean, you have to have a way of delivering them. Now, we don't know how far the range is of those delivery systems, because they have been very difficult with regard to inspections from the very beginning. And the Europeans and the UN will tell you that. And why they support them, I don't know. But there's no question that their delivery capability is much greater than it was, let's say, 4 or 5 years ago. Could they reach the United States? Probably not yet. This is all supposition and analysis that I can do based on what I've seen. And I certainly haven't seen everything. But they certainly could reach Israel. Could they get a nuclear weapon together? Well, there you get very widely ranging opinions from they're 4 to 5 to 6 months away, but very close. They consider that very close. They're at 60% enrichment. You got to go to 90. And apparently, the higher it gets, the easier it is to get there. Right? I'm not a nuclear scientist, so I'm just depending on what I'm told and what I read. There are sources that say that they literally could do it now in 3 days. That their uranium is enriched more than we realize. They could get to the point of it being able to be used for a nuclear bomb, and their delivery system is days away from being very long range. Now, what does that mean? Reaching the United States? I don't think so. But does it mean reaching Israel? Probably yes. And of course, without that, they have any number of tactical missiles that they can use, probably even more than Israel does. I think they do. I think they probably have maybe 10, 20% more than Israel has. But Israel, of course, has probably one of the most effective missile defense systems in the world, tested by war. Is it worn down or is it battle tested? I don't know. I think more battle tested than worn down. It really doesn't wear down. So long as they're being supplied with the anti-missile missiles that they need, and I think they are. So that'll be a real test, because if Israel hits Iran and takes out all or most of their nuclear capacity, which would destroy Iran. I mean, Iran spent $1 trillion or more on this, and they'd be right back at ground zero. The Ayatollah, I don't think the Ayatollah would be able to stay in power if the nuclear capacity would just take, like, goodbye. No more negotiations. You don't have it anymore. Go start, 20 years of, go spend another, because now probably with inflation costs $2 trillion. So that would lead to Iran, if the Ayatollah is in power and is able to command the military, would strike back certainly at Israel. And if Israel didn't do a complete job of taking everything out, they'd strike back with whatever they had. And they are threatening to hit American bases. Now, that would be extraordinarily reckless on their part, because that would assure war with the United States. Because I don't know how directly involved we're going to be, but they would ensure our direct involvement if they attacked one of our bases, as they threatened to do. Now, this is an insane regime, so it's hard to apply any of those standards to them. So now let's turn to our other problem in Los Angeles, where the press conference today with Kristi Noem, before it was interrupted by someone that I didn't recognize, nor would I have ever believed he was a senator, given the way he was acting. They made it pretty clear that the number of people that they arrested, the number of them that are dangerous criminals, keeps going up all the time as we get their records. So you tell me, what the heck are they doing trying to stop ICE? The reality is that the fact that the borders were open and anybody could come in for 4 years brought anybody into the United States. And anybody ranges from the poor, sympathetic creature that the Democrats posit as the person they're defending, somebody that just comes here because they want to work hard. And they can't work hard in their country, and it doesn't, or their country is unfair to them, or whatever the heck it is. And they're going to be really great American citizens. Two, people who are selling drugs, bringing in fentanyl, raping children, using children as slaves, dealing in human trafficking with women, and then committing the myriad of crimes that are now displayed in the I don't know how many. I mean, 300-400 of the people that were arrested. But I mean, the crimes are according to the latest report, and the latest is this morning from Trisha McLaughlin. 330 of the illegal immigrants have been arrested in the LA area. And the number with criminal records so far discovered is about half of those. They include killers and child molesters. Example, Gerardo Antonio Palacios, who's a Mexican national with prior convictions already. What are you doing out? I don't know. For homicide and burglary. Now, he is officially recorded as deported from the United States. So he goes into a category I keep trying to get them to cover, which is the category of people who came in that we never saw. There's the group that came in that we saw for a few minutes and then sent them off to New York or Chicago or Denver, Colorado, or whatever. Maybe we asked them questions, maybe we didn't. The Chinese, we asked them only 4 questions. Then there's the group that are gotaways, of which there are anywhere from 1.5 to 2 million. You get different numbers. And they are recorded in some way. And then there are the people that we never see and we never record because they come in those wide areas between checkpoints. Now, he's either somebody that came in as a gotaway and we didn't record his name. We just saw a body come in. Oh, we never saw him at all. But he had been thrown out of the country and he had a record for murder and burglary. But he was back here. We don't know how long. So he gets arrested by ICE. Thank you, ICE. LA didn't arrest him. They don't bother to look at illegal aliens. And unfortunately, if you look at illegal aliens, the crew that came in, you're going to see a much larger percentage of criminals than you ever saw before because of the way they were allowed in by Biden. The minute you say the walls are down, the worst people are going to come in. This is their opportunity. And we got a lot of the worst people. Gerardo Antonio Palacios from Mexico is just one of them. But then there's Max Kleb, K-H-L-E-B. He's from Cambodia, but we get him from all over the world. But it used to be from Mexico and a few countries. Biden made it like he is with DEI. It was completely inclusive. Any criminal that wanted to come in could come in because we wouldn't check. And to the extent that we tried to check, we never get any information back. So we either didn't check or the check was fruitless. Max Kleb was from Cambodia, was convicted of drug activity, battery, and lewd action with a child. This crime is probably the most frequent of the group that comes up in all these aliens that are illegal aliens, and that is abuse of children. It's disgusting that the Democrat Party is on their side, and they are on their side. To be on the side of you cannot raid places where there are large numbers of illegal immigrants is to be on the side of these people because they are among them. So, I mean, let's say there's a group working in a factory and there are 20 working and 4 of them are murderers and 3 of them are rapists and the rest are legit people. How do you know which is which until you arrest them? And should we allow the 4 rapists and 5 murderers to stay because we don't want to bother the 20 people who came in illegally but aren't committing any crimes? Well, it seems to me we're sacrificing the American people by doing that, aren't we? And maybe by coming in illegally, you took on some kind of burden. But they treat it like if you came in illegally, you should be given the Congressional Medal of Honor. I mean, that's a bad start. We want people to come in who are going to be good, effective citizens of the United States, who are going to enhance our country rather than drag it down. when you come in illegally, you may be one of those, but you're getting off to a bad start. And if you let that happen, then necessarily criminals are going to come in. I don't understand why any rational person wouldn't get that. So I become enormously suspicious, and have for a long time, about why the Democrat Party is so ridiculously in favor of this. I mean, the governor of California has done nothing to quell these riots. All he's done is go after President Trump, who probably is the only reason why these riots in Los Angeles are under control, because the Los Angeles Police Department wasn't doing shit until he said he was going to bring out the National Guard. And of course he was going to bring out the National Guard when the police chief disagrees with the mayor as to whether the city is under control. He wouldn't be doing his duty if he didn't do that. And now we got a left-wing, another wacko judge in San Francisco that's very, very dubious of the president's power to do it. What about the 30 other times presidents did it? You're just going to sit by and have a police chief tell you the city's out of control, and the mayor sit there like a doofus and say things are perfect, and the governor, I don't know, the governor's off having wine with his friends in San Francisco. And then, of course, they bring the case in San Francisco, not in Los Angeles, so they can get a wacko judge. Let's see if we can get a wacko judge that'll undermine the United States. And this guy's a brother of Judge Breyer, a left-wing member of the Supreme Court. But I don't think Judge Breyer was his wacky.
So we're following this case, Mayor. We have a live reporter that's been tweeting.
Please speak up. Go ahead.
We have a reporter who's tweeting from the courthouse. So I'll bring this up, and maybe you can review it based off what you're seeing here. This is the judge. This is the reporter reporting on what he's seeing inside the courtroom with Judge Breyer.
I do not understand how a judge would have the power to enjoin a president and tell the president he has to withdraw the National Guard. What, did he just become president of the United States?
Right.
Even if the president is wrong, he doesn't have the power to do it. Congress may have the power to do it, but he doesn't. This is a area of power that's given to the legislative and judicial and executive branches of the government. And there's no power like this under Article 3 of the Constitution. The power to oversee and to oversee immigration, foreign policy, and execution of the laws is with the executive branch shared to some extent with the legislature. It's a classic area for wise judges, and when the law of this country was sensible and protected our rights, that the judiciary stay out of it, because they don't have the resources, they don't have the information to make these decisions correctly. So I have no idea how this guy who's talking about our being a monarchy, the minute he says we're a monarchy, you know the guy's a jackass. I'm sorry, his brother may have been on the Supreme Court. That doesn't mean he's a jackass. I think there's something in the air in San Francisco that makes you that way. And there's a reason, and nobody wants to raise this. Why the hell did they bring it in San Francisco when it's happening in Los Angeles? Except if they got to fix it. Are you stupid? You're not my audience. The minute I heard this case was brought in the Northern District of California, I said, oh boy, they got something going here. San Francisco. And a judge second guessing the president on whether there's sufficient reason to protect the American people by bringing in the National Guard.
This story just 1 hour old. This is from Political. A federal judge cast doubts Thursday on the legality of President Trump's deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles, warning that the Trump administration's contention that the president's position cannot be second-guessed, even by the courts, evoked the founders' fear of a monarchy. Quote, "That's not where we live. We live in a response to a monarch. This country was founded in response to a monarch," U.S. District Court Judge Charles Breyer said during an emergency hearing on a lawsuit filed by California Governor Gavin Newsom. Quote, "The Constitution is a document of limitations."
Yeah, and it's a document of limitation for the judiciary as well, asshole. Why don't you read Justice Brandeis? And why don't you read Justice Frankfurter? And why don't you read all of the opinions on judicial discretion and the limits of judicial power? You know, one of the limits are the foreign policy of the United States. Those areas of power that were given to the political branches, you're supposed to stay out of. Or we become a judicial monarchy, which is what we are now. What a phony bastard you are. A monarchy? And you're sitting there playing president? Who the hell elected you? The American people elected Donald Trump to do this. They elected him to throw these people out of the United States. You had a chance to stop it by voting against him. He told you he would do this. So who's undermining democracy? Democracy isn't a vague concept. It's about the will of the majority. Then it is tempered by rights that are created, but very specific ones. So don't tell me you're fighting for democracy when you're trying to completely obstruct the will of the majority of the people of the United States and of its lawfully elected president. So when you say these words, the Constitution is a document of limitations, Judge, it applies to you. And traditionally, and under many court decisions, the area of foreign policy, immigration, and immigration control, war, is left to the political branches of government. Gee, I remember a case I had like this when a bunch of you wackos, represented by former Attorney General Clark, who was half out of his mind, tried to stop Ronald Reagan from deploying the cruise missiles to Europe that ended up liberating Eastern Europe. If you had had your way, they'd still be communists. And you came into court with the Greenpeace movement and the this peace movement and the that peace movement and 27 wacko Democrat senators like you. And luckily we had an American judge, Judge Edelstein, who wrote an opinion saying, I don't even have to figure out the underlying merits of what you don't have any ability to interfere in this. I have no ability to stop the president from deploying cruise missiles. Congress does. That's the way the Constitution set it up. That's the check and balance on the president. We have no capacity to interfere in something like that. We don't have the necessary information. What do we know about the secret intelligence that you have? You know that, and the members of Congress that are so empowered to do it know that. So, Judge, I mean, this is really God, we've gotten so far from our Constitution that we've got them distorting it and throwing it back on us. I hope the government, when he said the Constitution is protection against monarchs, and it's a document of limitation. Yes, Judge, limitation on you too. And you're the one acting like the monarch now. I doubt they had the clients to do that. I doubt it. That takes a hell of a lawyer to do that. But it should have been done. Because somebody's got to put this guy in his place. And the next place they go is the Ninth Circuit, which is left of Mao Zedong. Not as bad as it used to be. I haven't read a legal scholar that thinks that this case has any merit at all based on 30 prior deployments under situations far less egregious than this. How about hurricanes? They made it clear they're not going to enforce or assist in the enforcement of federal laws. So in order to protect his law enforcement officers and to protect his facilities from not being ripped apart, completely vandalized like the police headquarters was, but nobody shows you that, he deployed the National Guard. And you're telling me the president doesn't have the power to do that? And a court, one little district judge with absolutely no intelligence available to him? Nothing? No facts except the warped facts given to him by people who are cozying up to communists like Newsom had the big parade for Xi Jinping. All you have are crazy group of left-wing Democrats like yourself feeding you a bunch of arguments. You don't have any information. You don't have any facts. This is outrageous. This is outrageous. This whole day has been outrageous with that guy Padilla. I saw that, and I had absolutely no idea he was a senator. First of all, I would the way he was acting said to me he's not a senator. Senators don't act like that. The guy was acting like a goon, not a gentleman. So forget it. The woman was speaking. She was obviously in the middle of her what would look like a speech. You don't just barge in and start yelling questions at her, particularly at a tense time like this, where her security is going to be on high alert. Now, I don't think they knew you were a senator. I didn't know you were a senator. In fact, when I first saw you, I thought you were just a jerk, maybe a homeless jerk or something, yelling and screaming. So they let you get kind of close. But then you yelled you were a senator. Well, I don't know. Somebody could come in, yell they're a senator. You move aside, they pull out the gun and they shoot and kill her to death. They kill her. That's perfectly feasible in modern America, ladies and gentlemen. You know that. And that's on the mind of those officers. That's what they're trained to think about. They better be, because if I were in her position, I'd want them trained that way to protect my life. He had just had a meeting with her. Why didn't he tell her he was going to come in? Why didn't he have a pin on, identify himself as a member of the Senate? I think it was a setup.
Right. Totally set up.
And then they're ready in Washington to, all the Democratic senators approved what he did. Whatever happened to senators being gentlemen? Whatever happened to decorum? She wasn't acting in a discourteous way or she's just doing a job explaining how many criminals they caught. You should have thanked her for straightening out the state that you helped to ruin.
Right.
She was explaining that they arrested Gerardo Antonio Palacios, who got deported and somehow came back, and we just didn't know how. Well, Biden invited him in. Surge to the border and come in. We're not going to stop you. And then we didn't. So he just has a background of being a murderer and a burglar. That's good. Everybody that came in was all very honest and terrific, except for one guy, Mr. Palacios, who's a murderer and a burglar. Oh, wait a second. Then there's, I can't even pronounce this name, Sangwang Prasad. This guy comes from Laos, and he's been
half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your.
Well, there he is.
I'll pause it for now. Sorry.
Now, would you think that was a senator?
You want to see that? Can I play it?
Yeah, play it.
Sorry,
Would you think
I
this
don't
was a
wanna interrupt
senator?
you.
Look at him.
I'm Senator Alex Padilla. I have questions for the secretary because the fact of the matter is a half a dozen violent criminals that you're rotating on your heads off.
ICE agents have been doxxed for doing their duty.
So what do you think would happen? What do you think would happen
Senators Alex
to
Padilla
all right.
and Bill.
Okay, that's enough of that. They got the point. It almost looked like he was turning around to try to punch the guy. But in any event, I think he would have gotten decked if
This is the full. We're showing the full video now. This has longer cut. But I turned off the sound.
well, yeah, I mean, that did show you how close he got to her. But the reality is, even if they knew he was a senator, she's in the middle of her speech. And he walks in and he starts yelling questions to her. What are they supposed to do? He was walking right toward her. They had no idea what he was going to do. He sure didn't act like a senator. He acted like an enormously aggressive, out of control man. That's the objective observation that would be made. And if it were my city and the cops didn't stop him, I'd fire the cops. And they know that. And they know they'd get fired if they didn't stop him. That's what they're there for. You can second guess it all you want, but that presented a dangerous situation. And now you have all of the jerks back in Washington, Democrat jerks, supporting him, which seems they knew it was going to happen. They said he was at the congressional baseball game.
Talking about it?
Yeah, and then he came overnight back to California.
Look, the fact that he didn't have his Senate
I guess
pin.
he's a pretty shitty baseball player too, because the Democrats got the hell kicked out of him in the baseball game. They have any men in their group, like guys who can play baseball?
Speaking of that game here, we got.
I mean, some of the I was watching the. We were watching.
Guess if this catch was made by a Republican or a Democrat.
Oh, the great catch at third base.
Yeah.
Oh, that was a
there. Stab, dive, done. We're back with the. And how about Augie? What a move there. Stab, dive. And how about Augie? What a move there. Stab, dive, done. We're back with the bottom of the first after this.
The guy coming in at third base who he got out is probably the most manly guy on the team.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
I mean, that was a pretty good slide.
Right.
But I mean, this guy was much better than him.
Right.
Look at that. I mean, that's a major league play. Woo!
That was very nice.
Now, what was the score?
I was shocked at how the ending score was something like 12. I'll get the final score here.
You know, it was 31 something last time. It was like a football game.
That's the thing.
I think it was
getting
like
embarrassing for the Democrats. It almost tells you something about the party.
Well, that does tell you something.
Yeah.
You know, they talk about we don't have males anymore.
Yeah.
Not in the Republican Party.
Yeah, we're doing we got
You know where they don't have males anymore.
Right.
And I'm not talking about gender here. I'm talking about
like real
guys
men.
who can play baseball.
Yeah. That's a very good point.
I mean, some of these guys that came to the plate, it was a joke. I mean, the ball was coming in at about 40 or 50 miles an hour.
right.
A decrepit old man like me could hit it.
I wouldn't say you're decrepit age is relative, and you're definitely not decrepit.
When I was younger, though, you can go find the.
You still got it, Mayor.
You can find
we'll
the Washington, the New York Post, or the Daily News when I was a U.S. attorney, saying Giuliani played first base, a very classy first baseman, and then I actually have a 1,000% pitching record in Yankee Stadium. I pitched once and I won. I won I was pitching there was a charity game involving the police department and one of the sports radio stations.
Wow.
And
A fan.
I pitched the last 3 innings. And the winning run was on base in the last inning. And right before I threw the last strike, my manager came out to give me advice, and I told him to get the hell out of here. You know who my manager was? Joe Torre.
I knew that. Yeah.
Joe Torre walked out to the mound, and I said, "What would happen if you did this to one of your pitches, like a big pitch like this?" He said, "He'd tell me to go to hell." I said, "Well, that's what I'm telling you. Get the hell out of here. I'll get this guy out." And I threw him a high pitch, and he swung at it.
That's funny. Well, you want your pitcher to, you want a pitcher that doesn't want to be pulled out, right? That's a comp. You need
Yeah,
some.
not only do I want to be pulled out, you don't.
They know they got to.
Come on, I know what I have to do. I don't need you.
You know baseball. People know you as a Yankee fan.
I was a catcher, and every once in a while I'd walk out to the mound and people would get the hell out of here.
I think some people know you as a Yankee fan that may not even know you were a mayor or a U.S. attorney. That's how big of a Yankee fan you
Or
are.
a baseball player.
Yeah, or player. Yes,
and a catcher.
You were a catcher, which you really get to see. You see the game from an interesting perspective as a catcher.
Yep.
You're very involved with the pitcher, and you see everything.
You'd figure a party that favors men going into women's bathrooms wouldn't play baseball very well.
Right.
There's sort of a connection between the two.
That's
if
right.
You get it.
That's right. We should probably look over time how the scores of the baseball game have.
They've won 5 in a row now. The Republicans.
Which kind of aligns with where the Democrat Party's been going, right?
Yeah.
Maybe 20, 30 years ago. I mean, they got
some. In fact, 30 years ago, I would imagine it would be. They might be better. They had
we might have more of the nerds. We have the bookworms.
Blue collar people,
and we have the bookworms.
And the few blue collar people they have become millionaires as soon as they get there.
That's right.
Most honest people, they go into government and they make their money either before or after. But the Democrats do a good job making their money while they're in government.
That's right.
It's been a crooked party on and off since it began. There are more scandals in that party than you can shake a stick at. Our party has had some too, but nowhere near the systemic nature of it, particularly in the big city Democrat parties. One after the other, crooked as hell. And now that's why they end up supporting the criminals like, how many of these guys are involved in lewd or lascivious acts with a child under 14?
Insane.
Just to protect the children of Los Angeles.
Right.
Get rid of these creeps. And if it means there's going to be some intrusion in the lives of others who came in illegally, well, so be it. Somebody's got to make a sacrifice to straighten this situation out. And that isn't asking much of the people who came in illegally. And looking at the circumstances under which they came in illegally is important. We're at the point where, I used to be a heck of a lot more sympathetic to the people who came in illegally, but they wanted a job, they wanted to work, they worked in the fields and went back. It's wrong, they shouldn't do it. They did always create an opportunity for drug dealers and criminals and terrorists to come in hiding between them, or given the distraction of them, and nobody analyzes this at all ever. Given the distraction they create, being able to come in unobserved, because they're wide spaces of 30, 40 miles, in which if you know that border, you can come over unobserved because there's one station 50 miles away, another one 35 miles away, and you can't have a Border Patrol agent on every point in the border. Or maybe you should, I don't know. And that was the idea of a wall. The idea of a wall is you put up a wall. That means they have to climb over it or go under it. Now that has the wall nowadays is like a seeing eye dog, right? So somebody hits that wall, then it alerts the closest 2 stations. Now it's going to depend on how far away they are. And I had a whole plan. Maybe I should present it to him now. I worked it all up during the Bush administration. I still have it, where you'd have one every. No station. There'd be no part of the border where there wasn't a station within 20 miles, which means they could respond in enough time if there was a wall creating a period of time to get in, they could respond in time. And the idea would be there'd be 2 spaced apart by, let's say, 40 or 50 miles. Let's say 40 miles. So one would be 20 miles away, the other would be 20 miles away, and that'd be the worst case scenario. And you try to space them in places where, I mean, there are some places on the border where it would be impractical for them to come in. But there are a lot of places where it isn't. And is a wall a complete answer? No. It's not a complete answer to security for your house. But it seems to me all the members of Congress like Pelosi have a wall because it makes it harder to come in. That's the idea of it. They were all in favor of it until Trump was in favor of it, which gives you an idea of what horrible people they are. To say that something is important for our security and then oppose it because your political opponent now agrees with you and you don't want to give him a victory means you don't give a shit about this country. And they don't give a shit about the country. The Democrat Party, elected officials, very hard for me to find one except Fetterman, whoever gives a damn about America. I mean, I'm looking for one. There should be some that come forward now and say, no, we got to get rid of these illegal. We got to get rid of these illegal people. They're causing too much crime in this country. The LA riots are spreading. According to the news reports, I can't document this completely. It's about 35 cities that now have had riots. The ones of note, none of them like Los Angeles. None of them of note, although San Francisco has had, well, for a while they had actually more arrests than Los Angeles and many fewer problems. But unlike Los Angeles, they got on top of it right away. I mean, they have a mayor that's alive and functioning. And the governor did nothing to help them. So there are 35 cities in 19 different states have had some kind of demonstration against ICE, against the Immigration Service, or in favor of the illegal aliens. Nice, huh? No other city has matched the scale. In Atlanta, there were 6 agitators who were arrested. But then after that, they set off fireworks and hurled rocks at police officers. And presumably they were arrested. In Chicago, thousands gathered outside the Chicago Police Department. See, if it was the weekend, they wouldn't be able to do that because they would be killing people in the black neighborhood, which is what they do every weekend in Chicago in large numbers. It's just a weekend thing, murder in Chicago, or they either kill them or they seriously wound them. A lot of them are children, and about 7 or more out of 10 are black. So at least some of those people would be tied up doing that. And also, they'd probably be able to kill more on a weekend if they have a demonstrator out, because the cops would have to worry about these demonstrators instead of the people that are killing citizens of Chicago. But even though the Chicago Police Department is under great pressure to protect the lives of particularly black people in Chicago, their patrol cars were vandalized. A motorist plowed through them in a mob and ignored orders to stop. And a group of people were arrested. We don't have the number. And the mayor now, do we have him? Do we have that anarchist? He's so stupid. You can't even call him an anarchist because he wouldn't know what it was. He certainly wouldn't be able to spell it. You want to put jackass on? I mean, this guy was a complete joke before he got elected mayor. Nobody ever thought he'd be elected because he was the most left-wing nut job in the city of Chicago, which is the great risk for New York City with this Islamic terrorist lover running for mayor. This is the party that loves criminals. Here you go. Well, if you can find it, that's okay. You got. I mean, he's worth waiting for. Shall we take a break? Well, we got to take a break at some.
I am counting on all of Chicago to resist in this moment, because whatever particular vulnerable group is being targeted today, another group will be next. Now, look, I know that there is an effort to divide us in this moment.
What's this exactly? You want to play that one part again so people hear it again? Go ahead, just play that one time.
This disease, Chicago, to.
But we don't.
And it's a war on our culture. It's a war on our democracy. It's a war on our humanity. I am counting on all of Chicago to resist in this moment, because whatever particular vulnerable group is being targeted today, another group will be next.
What was the will of the people? Jackass. The will of the people was to elect him. He is now doing what they voted him in to do. And it also happens to be the law of the United States that you people have been disobeying for 20 years. The people who come in here illegally are absolutely subject to deportation. They have no right to be here. If they commit a crime, of course, that makes it much, much worse. But he made it clear he was going to deport all of them. Now, they pretty much focused on the criminals. And even when they do these arrests, it was interesting in Kristi Noem's press conference today. If the press in America were intelligent or fair or whatever, the big news was that the ICE were executing criminal warrants. And the mayor actually said, well, we don't cooperate with civil process. If it's criminal, well, that may be different. Well, it isn't different. That's a big bunch of hokum. They don't cooperate with any, because they weren't doing it in New York either until Adams wanted to suck up to Trump. New York has laws against notifying immigration. They have laws that makes it illegal to comply with federal law. Figure that one out. So the first statement, this is a war on our democracy. You're the one conducting the war on the democracy. And I think you're committing a crime when you tell people to resist. Resisting is not peaceful protest. What are they resisting? Peaceful protest is to say, we don't agree with this. But you want them to resist. What you're telling them is to resist arrest. There's no resisting involved in peaceful protest. What are you resisting? That's language of aggression. That's language that assumes you're going to get arrested or resist. Resist lawful authority. Resist my police. Well, my police. The police hate them. I mean, the Democrat Party is the enemy of the police, the military, lawful citizens, and who do they favor? Illegals, whether they're illegal without a criminal record or with a criminal record. They don't really give a damn. You'll just be part of that big dependency group that they're going to count on to keep themselves in power and act like dictators. So I think that's a heck of a giveaway that this group is, to a very large extent, the Democrats are helping to create these riots just like they did in 2020. I wouldn't be surprised if they're going to get bail money for them. I mean, Kamala Harris bailed out the whole group that burned down Minneapolis. Well, you should know that Senator Hawley has been very, very active in getting behind the groups that are funding this, including the Coalition for Humane Immigrant Rights, CHIRLA, that he is going to conduct a hearing, has served them with, I guess, discovery demands. They supply logistical support and financial resources for the people that are involved in the riots. And when we come back, I don't know if you have any doubt that these are orchestrated and created, and that a lot of money is put out on the street to get the people there. But there's video proof of that in things that have been that have spilled over onto that communist site TikTok. And we'll be back after we have a little break, and we'll let you see that. U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at T2T.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month.
Wow.
Including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep grain, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because they like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're gonna go into the roaster and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. Well, just to get you up to date on everything else that's going on, there have been some erroneous reports that, or maybe they aren't erroneous, but we can't confirm them, that Israel has hit nuclear facilities in Iran. There is no support for that, not reported online. The latest report that's confirmed is that Trump warns that Israel could strike Iran. So that may have spawned this. And the U.S. officials say there'll be no American military support involved in it. Now, I think that, I mean, I don't know if that's true or not, but a lot of stuff in this area is not exact. I'm not even sure Israel acknowledges that it has nuclear weapons. But in any event, that would mean that if Israel hits them, and with the statement out there by the American president that the U.S. isn't involved, if they do what they're threatening to do and hit an American military base or vessel, then they would have declared war on the United States. I know Clinton didn't think that when bin Laden, first of all, did declare war on the United States twice, and then he hit an American military vessel and killed some of our sailors. But Clinton, Clinton was too busy playing around with Arafat and other things to do anything about it, except I think he bombed an empty field or something. But it certainly wasn't treated as an act of war, which, in my view, is when people say, what are the unexplored reasons for 9/11? How about looking at Billy Boy and his appeasement of bin Laden? How about that? When bin Laden was doing a Hitler on us and telling us, we're at war, we're going to hit you. And then hit one of our ships. Hit us several times. But, okay. So, I mean, beyond the fact that there's something seriously wrong with the upper echelon of the Democrat Party, or it's more than the upper echelon, a big group of elected Democrat officials, there's something sick about them, and anti-American, an anti-lawful citizen, an anti-law and order, an anti-police, an anti-military. There are more, they're like, they got judges coming out of the woodwork who are crazy. So Mahmoud Khalil is one of the organizers of the demonstrations in favor of Hamas that were held at Columbia and in other places. He served as a spokesman for a group called the Columbia University Apartheid Divestment. And that group is aligned with Hamas. He is a green card holding Palestinian born in Syria, which is where the Palestinians really come from, Syria and Egypt, because there was no Palestine. And there is no Palestinian nationality. So he was born in Syria. He's Syrian. Like Arafat, at least admitted it. He was born in Egypt. And one point in a I guess he was drunk or something, he said, I created this whole thing. Jerks. So the judge is Judge Michael Farbiarz, Farbiarz. And he's from New Jersey. Now, I don't know much about the New Jersey judiciary, but I know the Democratic Party I think there was a point where every mayor in New Jersey was in jail. I think that when Christie was U.S. attorney. Of course, I'm exaggerating, but he basically couldn't be a self-respecting mayor of New Jersey and not have gone to jail. A Democrat, of course. But corruption in New Jersey is ignored because it's so much bigger in New York. I mean, bigger scale. But apparently they got their wacko judges there. So this guy gets freed from custody, and he wants to interfere without throwing him out of the United States. And he's aligned with Hamas. So let's help Hamas. All they want to do is kill Americans as well as Jews. And I don't know who this Farbiarz is. Maybe I'll be surprised. What do you think? Shall we make a little bet on whether he's a Democrat or not?
Yeah.
Look him up. New Jersey Judge Michael, Farbiarz. Farbiarz. I may not be pronouncing it right. I told you, I pronounce these names phonetically because that's what you do in Latin. Because it's a rational language, you pronounce it the way it looks, which makes it very, very easy to read Latin.
Biden appointee.
But
He is a Biden appointee.
oh, he's a federal judge. Oh my God, I thought he was like one of those New Jersey judges. What a disgrace. Another.
Michael Farbiars.
Yeah.
Make sure I got the spelling right.
Huh.
Joe Biden.
Okay. All right.
Still a Democrat. You're right.
What?
You're right, though. He's a Democrat.
Yeah. Gee, I wonder. So several, if not more than several, of the people arrested in New York have been described as very rich kids. One of them is Vega Gillette, a 19-year-old at Sarah Lawrence College. Sarah Lawrence College is really not a college. It's a communist finishing school. It used to be a finishing school for, it was one of the girl Ivy League schools. Now it has girls and boys. But Vega Gillette describes herself as a Moroccan American writer, artist, and lover of junk. What does that mean, lover of junk? She's the daughter of Sean Gillette, an actor, screenwriter, and director whose credits include Requiem for a Dream and Pi. I remember Pi. I don't remember Requiem. No, Pi. Pi was that little thing in the water. Yeah. So there are a whole group of these kids that are rich kids. Probably like the one that you interviewed down at NYU, her and her friend who came from Fordham, but they didn't know exactly why they were there. And they said they were going to try to find out. Did they say they're going to try to find out, or they just look?
What brings you out tonight?
I'm here to support the NYU students protesting for Palestine.
Are you an NYU student?
I'm not, I'm a Fordham student.
Fordham, okay. And what would you say is the main goal with tonight's protest?
I think the goal is just showing our support for Palestine and demanding that NYU stops. I honestly don't know all of what NYU's doing.
Is there something that NYU's doing?
I really don't know. I'm pretty sure do you know what NYU's doing? About what? About Israel. Why are we protesting here?
Palestine
will be free. I wish I was more educated. I'm not either.
Oh.
I came from Columbia. I was there up at Columbia and
I should. The young lady with the mask on at least understands the basic fundamental of ancient Greek philosophy. The beginning of knowledge is to know that you don't know. That's pre-Socratic philosophers and Socrates. And she said, "I guess I'm not educated." Yes, you're not. You're not educated. Because you're a victim of the communist infiltration of our education system at both the grade school level and the college level.
Amazing, man.
Now, if you think there's any doubt about that, boy, you're not observing America. This is all comes out of Karl Marx, and the various versions of Marx that have been produced. They are doing the best they can to produce an ignorant generation. Their lack of knowledge of history is astounding. When they say things like Israel should stop occupying Gaza. Israel stopped having anything to do with Gaza in 2005. That's how Hamas got control of it in 2007. I mean, at least if you're going to protest, you should know what the hell you're protesting, right? What's wrong with these kids? What's wrong with them is they've been brainwashed. And our educational system And unfortunately, what we used to describe as elite universities are absolute horrible institutions and completely hate America. And that's what they turn out for the kids who go along with it. And then there are a lot of, thank God, independent kids and kids that have their own mind who fight it. Thank God. More than you think. I'm very, very proud of New York. I'm very proud of Adams' deputy mayor and the chief of patrol that went to visit Trump on Saturday and said, Mr. President, we can do it. New York is not going to require you to use the National Guard. And the police commissioner obviously supports that. The department is expert in policing protests. You're damn right it is. When it's got a good leadership. When it was under de Blasio, it wasn't. It sure didn't do a good job in 2020. De Blasio had them standing around watching them looting. The poor cops looked like they were people that were going to record the amount of stuff stolen for the insurance companies. They finally acted on their own. And they got better control in 2020 over New York than almost any place else. Very little in New York burned, even with effing de Blasio as the mayor. But Commissioner Tisch said, we have lots of practice at it and our cops are the best in the world. It's our responsibility to maintain safety and order on our streets, and we will not abdicate that responsibility. Very different than Karen Bass, huh? We're not going to cooperate with ICE. So there are paid agitators that are there in New York, and I think the NYPD had them identified in advance because they pulled them out and arrested them right away. So they did a pretty good job of getting the leadership out because they did some work in advance, which never happened in LA, which is why the National Guard had to be put in. President would have been completely irresponsible if he had listened, particularly had listened to the dumbass mayor saying it was under control and the police commissioner saying it was out of control. I don't wait at that point. I got a city that isn't functioning at a time in which people could be killed. Ted, shall we play them? The people who were offered money to join protests? We don't have all of it, but we have two examples. Pardon me?
Here's a day to go protest ICE in New York. The organization was called No Kings. They said June 14th, we're going to be protesting and these are the streets that you need to be on and this is what you need to do. You need to cause chaotic disruptions, and they said that there's going to be pallets of like bricks and different things everywhere that protesters could use. They really want to wreak havoc. It's kind of ridiculous. Me as an American, although I need the money, I'm like, this is very, very unpatriotic. If I was to go take this money and go protest, it's not very American. It's not what I stand for. It's obviously not even, worth the time. But, $200 a day is what they're paying people to go protest. The corruption is up here because it goes way beyond these organizations. They want to destroy America, and people like me
Very insightful man here.
Gonna go do it. I'm not gonna go do it, but people are gonna go do it. They're gonna go destroy, the city and cause chaos. It's just crazy that, they're even paying people to go do this. It just...
Well, this guy obviously is smarter than any of the Democrats. This has been going on forever, that they pay people to protest. This is like they would go pay people to fraudulently vote. I mean, that was and is very common in New York, Chicago, Philadelphia. That violates the law and takes away our democracy. Do you have the other one too? Okay, well, there was another one also. We'll get that one for you tomorrow. Probably. No, don't worry about it. I think we made the point. I mean, there's no doubt that they're doing this, and they traced some of the money back to Code Pink. Now, Code Pink is funded by the Democrats' favorite foreign ally, Red China. It originates from Singapore with a guy named Syngman and his wife, multi-billionaires who help launder money for the Chinese Communist Party to create havoc in European countries in America. Some of the money is directly attributable to him, and a lot of it is attributable to this SHRP group that Senator Hawley is investigating, that got millions and millions from the Biden administration, and nobody knows what the hell they spent it on. They're supposedly be taking care
Besides
of
the fact that I got paid $150 to do so per day, I kept seeing signs everywhere that this was being funded by somebody much higher than the person that I had met.
That was another example of someone
There you
getting
go.
paid.
That guy took the money. But okay, I used to use turncoats like that. Much worse than taking money. The mafia used some killers. I mean, what the heck? You had to get bigger killers, right? Well, you remember how it was going to be as soon as Trump puts these tariffs in effect, we're going to have massive inflation. Our economy is going to be ruined. Well, inflation was, without any doubt, for second month in a row, under control, even more under control than it was before. It is at levels way below anything you could describe as inflation. 2% is the ideal place. We're at about 2.4. We're about 0.3% below what was predicted. There are some long-term increases that go back to Biden. For example, eggs decreased 2.7%, but they're up 41.5% from a year or 2 years ago. The price of cars has gone down. The price of clothing has gone down. President Trump is putting pressure on Powell to make a reduction in the interest rates of, I'm not sure if it's 1% or 0.5%, but he thinks that would alleviate any of these concerns, which, albeit they're psychological concerns and to some extent created by propaganda, they still do affect people's income, and not so much their income, but their investments. And you know, if you think about investments, rich people, it affects the 401ks. I mean, something like 52% of American people are, whether they know it or not, invested in the market. Now, is that wise? Should it be more diverse? Well, that's a different question. We had somebody on last night who tried to explain why it should be somewhat more diverse. But in any event, that's the case. Also, do you know how much we took in tariff revenue just in 1 month? We almost had no tariff revenue. In the month of April, well, April and May, we took in 37.8 billion. But the May part was 22 billion in tariffs. So we're making money on this. Oh, how about this? Customs and Border Patrol has stepped up enforcement, as you know. Through April, the agency reported almost 23 billion additional in duties that were paid only after a compliance review. These are duties that should have been paid, that Biden never bothered to collect. Now, those are big numbers. Those numbers, I'll show you how things work. Those numbers will put off the debt crisis probably another month. So we were going to run out of money at the end of August. This is why the big, beautiful bill is important, because one of the things that it does is it raises the debt ceiling. So you're not going to face that crisis in August. Well, now you won't face it until September or October, because we're taking in more money than we thought we would. That's what a good president does. That shows good governance when you're making more money than you anticipated. That's what I did for New York City. I turned it around to having surpluses. Doesn't have a surplus now, you can be sure of that. I'll give you an example of how Los Angeles is not New York. The Sultan of Brunei, who used to own the Palace Hotel in New York, now wants to buy the Pierre Hotel. You know what the rumored price is? Guess. Guess, Ted.
For a room one night?
No. What's the price to buy it?
To buy the whole hotel.
The Pierre Hotel. Yeah. What do you think the rumored price is?
Name the location of the hotel again.
The Pierre Hotel.
Where is it? What part of town?
It's located right off Fifth Avenue. 16,
how many rooms?
Right. I don't know. Right around the corner from. What's that other hotel where the Chinese guy bought?
Waldorf. The Sherry.
Yeah.
I know the area you're talking about. Right there, the right at the corner there, the lower.
But the Pierre is around the corner, and it's in the
59th and
61st Street. 66th.
Well, I'm gonna go with Judge Engamoron's property evaluations.
8 million?
8 to 10 million.
Yeah. How about 2 billion?
Mayor, that's not.
And New York is not the greatest city in the world. Come on.
Well, Mayor, we do have some breaking news. Israel did, in fact, launch a preemptive, precise combined offensive based on high-quality intelligence to strike Iran's nuclear program. We have a statement from the Israeli Defense Forces just released about 20 minutes ago.
Of the State of Israel, planning and advancing concrete military plans to do so. Over the past few months, intelligence has shown that Iran is closer than ever to obtaining a nuclear weapon. This morning, the IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We are operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon that would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. This operation is for our right to exist here, for our future and for our children's future. The State of Israel has the right and the obligation to operate in order to protect its people and will continue to do so. The IDF conducted significant preparations for this operation. We are well prepared both in defense and offense to defend ourselves. The IDF will continue to defend the State of Israel.
So this is breaking news within the last half hour.
Wow. Well, we knew it was coming. It was inevitable. The President of the United States has said the U.S. wasn't involved. We've got to take it. We have to take that at his word, right? There's no solid basis to dispute that. So now we have to see what Iran's going to do. Are they going to? They are going to have to try to strike back at Israel. Israel, according to the general, sounds like they're prepared for that. and will, if number one, defend against it, and then the best defense against something like that is further offense and destruction of their military capability, which I have to imagine. Bibi Netanyahu has been preparing for this for 20 years. Let's face it. If you go into his office, a third of his office is a map of Iran. It is not at all coincidental that the MEK uncovered the missile extension operation on a much grander scale in the desert adjacent to the province of Tehran, and warned that their ability to launch missiles, they're trying very desperately to extend, and how about we pay attention to this, extend it as far as the United States. At 60% enrichment, even under the most conservative estimates, they're a few months away from being a nuclear power. And they say that once they have the right enrichment, they already have 6 bombs prepared. Now, there are people, responsible people, that say they're really days away. Now, I assume, but we're going to have to see, that that's what Israel was reacting to. And they took that capacity away. The general said, although he didn't emphasize it, but you got to listen to him carefully, he said that they were too close to having nuclear weapons for Israel to tolerate, and that Israel had to act. So there's no better intelligence than the Mossad, and the Mossad intelligence comes from an awful lot of internal assistance in Iran, because it would be foolish for you to think that the people of Iran really support the regime of terror. That's been imposed on them, and they would be the first ones that would applaud removing the Ayatollah. Many of them are brave enough to go in the streets with signs saying that, except they don't show you that. There is some strange affinity between the left-wing press, the Democrats, and the regime of terror. The only reason they're still in existence is because Obama and Biden funded them. They'd have no money if Obama and Biden didn't give them billions and billions and billions. Well over 100 billion. I mean, you don't find that strange that Obama would send them cash? You don't find it strange that when Biden came into office, Iran was broke, and all of a sudden it ends up with about 100 billion? Every sanction ignored, every sanction either removed or not enforced. And the minute Trump comes in, they're in economic peril again. The president has warned them, and the president today, well, I have to say, when I listen to the president today, Ted, let's see if we can go back and get his statement on Iran. I want you to look at him, and he has to be, either he didn't know, which I find impossible to believe, or he's one hell of a poker player. Because when you listen to him, it sounds like this is going to happen, but not right now.
Right.
It doesn't look like it's going to happen tonight. Now, maybe at that point he didn't know. Maybe he was informed later. But there is no way, I don't care what they say, there's no way in a million years that Bibi Netanyahu did this without giving us a heads up. No way. And the rumors now that we were moving troops into the area and we were reinforcing the naval assets we already have there. I think we have 2 aircraft carriers in the area, So I don't know how much we can reinforce it, but we are. But we did hear yesterday that there was troop movements into the area, American troop movements into the area. Now, that could be to help Israel, or it definitely could be to protect our bases there. I mean, we have a base in Qatar, whichever you prefer. That's well within striking distance of Iran, just right across the water. I mean, you could hit it with a slingshot. We got 10,000 or more troops there, and we have we have Air Force facilities there too. It was one of the prime bases we used in the Iraq War. And Qatar plays both sides against the middle, but they have no ability to interfere in that base. Qatar doesn't really have a military. I know Qatar security because I helped develop it, going back for the Asian Games. And it may be a very wealthy nation and therefore have quite a bit of ability to help or hurt, but it doesn't have a military to speak of. I mean, one of the problems is the same thing is true with Saudi Arabia. And that's why if Iran became nuclear, it would have been the height of irresponsibility for Saudi Arabia not to be. A little like India and Pakistan, right? This sort of avoids that. It makes the idea of an Abraham Accord between Saudi Arabia and Israel kind of puts that off, because although Saudi Arabia probably fears Iran more than even Israel does, because it's a lot more ancient, the hatred between the two countries. It also doesn't want to look like it's siding with Israel because it's worried about what they like to call the street. They're worried about the out of control Islamic extremists, pretty much the Sunni variety of them, that would try to overthrow the royal family. Now, Mohammed bin Salman has done a lot to reduce that power and to reduce that sentiment and to control it. But I can't tell you how much it's reduced, and I'm sure it's still a factor. But it is a legitimate factor in what puts a limitation on what Saudi Arabia can or will do. Although you know that secretly they're hoping that they wake up tomorrow morning and the Ayatollah's gone. Aside from Israel, they would be the most joyful about that, maybe more, and then we should be, because he's killed a lot of us. Everyone that Soleimani killed, right?
Yeah.
Which we felt justified to kill Soleimani, was authorized by the Ayatollah. Everything is authorized. He's the supreme leader of Iran. It is not a democracy. It's not a republic. It's not a nation of laws. It's a nation run by a religious maniac and his group of religious maniacs, or pretend religious maniacs who really are massive organized criminals. And they're all billionaires, by the way. These clerics and mullahs are very wealthy men. Notice I mentioned men, because women can't get anywhere in Iran unless they want to get stoned. So let's hope that Israel was enormously successful. We don't have any information yet, but Ted, why don't you take any information yet on the scope of this, on what they hit, how successful it was?
Well, here's a statement from Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in the strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Israel advised us that they believe this action was necessary for its self-defense. President Trump and the administration have taken all necessary steps to protect our forces and remain in close contact with our regional partners. Let me be clear, Iran should not target U.S. interests or personnel. That from U.S. Secretary of State
answers the
Marco
question,
Rubio.
were we informed? Yeah. The answer from our Secretary of State is yes, we were. So if we were informed, if they were informed, the president was informed. And it doesn't say whether he agreed. Certainly, if he disagreed, it would say that. And if he disagreed, they wouldn't have done it. Because ultimately, if things get out of hand, we're the only one that can protect them. And Iran now has to make a calculation. Do they follow through on their threat of hitting American facilities if Israel hits them? Or are they wise enough to realize that that would become the excuse for us to get completely involved? And then they're dealing with, it's questionable whether they can withstand the Israeli air and military defenses and offenses. That's a question. It is not questionable if the United States gets involved. And there's no way in a million years that Russia or China will come to their defense. They're too pathetic a regime. They don't do anything for Russia or China except take money from them. I mean, China is concerned with Taiwan, not Iran. And Russia's got all it can handle with Ukraine. They've lost about 1 million people, but they haven't lost. There have been 1 million people either killed or wounded. They're not exactly ready for a big military engagement to help a country governed by a maniac. So, and Israel has done a very good job of taking out their proxies. The only one that is still a matter of some concern is Yemen. And I personally don't know why we didn't destroy them. Just to avoid there being a nuisance in a situation like this. I mean, they also killed Americans. So that ends any consideration for them. There should be no consideration for the Ayatollah. If, as I said, if there was justification for taking out Soleimani, there's twice as much justification.
So what you're seeing now is video being posted. We haven't independently confirmed it from Tehran. So we are hearing
Tehran?
reports that Israel is hitting Tehran.
Well, that's a fascinating. I mean,
but we have not independently confirmed this. Again, this coming from
that's different. Unless there's a nuclear facility in Iran, I didn't know that there were nuclear facilities in Iran. Do you want to see if we can find Ali Reza?
Yes. So we are.
Even if we put him on just audio?
Yep, I'm gonna see a piece of it. So what you're seeing now, this is again footage from Iran or from Tehran. And we're hearing reports that they're hitting.
Tehran is the capital of Iran, right? It's the province next to the province that has all of the enhancement facilities for rockets and a range of rockets, but it's still very far away. That's very far away. And it doesn't look like they are conducting any kind of massive bombing of Tehran. It looks like they're hitting a specific site, maybe a military site in Iran, in Tehran. One would hope the Ayatollah is sleeping in that site, because it would be good for him. He'd get up to paradise, get to find out about if they got 72 virgins therefore. I do not understand the consideration given to this guy. I mean, we took out his operative who killed Americans. Of course, there's justification for taking him out. He killed Americans. He's the reason the Americans were killed. Soleimani was carrying out his orders. And believe me, if this works, not just to taking away the nuclear facilities, but we can overthrow the religious dictatorship, insane dictatorship. Iran either being neutral or could become an ally, particularly if we're wise enough to cooperate with the National Council for Iranian Resistance that has a government in exile ready to operate as an interim government, so we won't have the problems we had in Iraq, has significant support all throughout Iran. They are, in fact, the group behind all the protests that go on in Iran. And they're the group that got the original information way back in 2002 or 3 that Iran was attempting to develop a nuclear weapon at Natanz. And they came back with photographic proof supported by the Mossad eventually. And the Mossad's intelligence within Iran is superior. They've known for a long time, for the 40 years plus of this despotic regime, that it's dedicated to the destruction of the state of Israel. And they've used that 40 years to very effectively infiltrate so effectively that they were able, what was about 10 years ago, to take out all of the nuclear scientists that set back their program 5 years. They just executed them in Tehran and throughout Iran. That's pretty good. And also, they tried to demonstrate to Iran that we know where you are in the two more or less symbolic responses to Iran's aggression against them when they bombed Iran. First of all, it was a big surprise that Israel could easily reach the far ends of Iran. And the places they hit were all extremely close to the major enrichment facilities in Iran, which scared the hell out of the Ayatollah. But look, these people are insane. If the Ayatollah were sane, he would agree with getting rid of the nuclear, because he knew this was going to happen. And if he escalates it, it'll just get worse. Now, with the U.S. saying they don't know about this, a rational, evil person would not hit the U.S. I don't think a Putin or a Xi would hit the U.S. if, even if they threatened it. Because why escalate it beyond, let's say, Russia and Ukraine? So even if it is a fiction, I don't know that it is, it probably isn't, but even if it is, you maintain the fiction because you can't risk the greatest military power in the world getting involved. You got a pretty big problem with Israel. But you can't count on that with this regime, because the very reason why they can't be nuclear, which is they're irrational, is the reason you can't count on it. You can't use a rational analysis to give yourself sort of an indication of what they're going to do. It would make sense that they keep it confined to themselves in Israel. It might even make sense that they don't escalate it with Israel. I doubt that. But it sure makes sense that you don't touch American bases, because you're going to have hell come down on you if you do. And you may get hell coming down on you anyway, but at least you got a chance. So shall we take a break and catch up? And we're going to stay on for a bit, given what's going on. Pardon me? U.S. Army Major Scott Smiley paid a high price serving our nation. Scott was leading his platoon in Iraq when a blast sent shrapnel through his eyes, leaving him blind and temporarily paralyzed. Scott would become the first blind active duty military officer before medically retiring years later. Thanks to friends like you, the Tunnel to Towers Foundation gave Scott and his family a mortgage-free, specially adapted smart home. Show your support for America's heroes now. Donate $11 a month to Tunnel to Towers at t2t.org.
Are you ready for some action?
I'm ready for action.
Get the Elite TV plan only through the portal. 218 channels, and it's only $69.95 a month,
Wow.
including your free portal.
That's cheaper than everyone else.
Your favorite sports, movies, news,
Wow.
even daytime dramas. We're talking about ESPN, OAN, Newsmax,
Wow.
channels you can't get anymore in certain areas.
Compared to the competition, this is a way better deal.
Endless selection. Not to mention all the free music channels. There's over 700 premium and classic movies all ready to go.
Wow.
Plus, they got catch-up TV that allows you to go back and watch what you've missed or want to watch again. Cut your cable in half and get twice as much for free.
Way more channels for half the cost.
After the first year, the subscription then drops to $57.95 monthly,
Wow.
where you change or upgrade anytime. Go to QUXNow.com and get yours today. Use promo code RUDY. Act fast. These deals are selling out.
Here we are, pretty much at the beginning of the process here at this pristine, I call it a laboratory. It's not like a factory, it's like a hospital. This is the beginning of the process for roasting. Deep green, very good quality. Most people don't use this quality. We deal with small farmers because we like to know who we're dealing with. They give us the highest quality, all organic, non-GMO. You should know all Arabica beans, no Robusto, all Arabica. They're going to go into the roaster, and it'll get roasted for about 20 minutes or so. Oh my goodness, look at these. My goodness. You're going to want to specially order these. This is what goes into Rudy's coffee. There is a statement from Prime Minister Netanyahu. We'll get for you, but he put out a statement on a video posted on social media that says, moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. Now, you saw the statement by Brigadier General Effie Defrin that Israel was left with no choice but to launch the attack against the nuclear program on June 13th, facing imminent and existential threat to its survival. The IDF began preemptive and precise strikes targeting the Iranian nuclear program in order to prevent the Iranian regime's ability to build a nuclear bomb in the immediate time frame. We have no choice. We're operating against an imminent and existential threat. We cannot allow the Iranian regime to obtain a nuclear weapon. That would be a danger to Israel and the entire world. Well, that's my friend Bibi. Yeah, let's play Bibi.
Operation to roll it. Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons. In recent years, Iran has produced enough highly enriched uranium for 9 atom bombs. 9. In recent months, Iran has taken steps that it has never taken before, steps to weaponize this enriched uranium. And if not stopped, Iran could produce a nuclear weapon in a very short time. It could be a year, it could be within a few months, less than a year. This is a clear and present danger to Israel's very survival. 80 years ago, the Jewish people were the victims of a Holocaust perpetrated by the Nazi regime. Today, the Jewish state refuses to be a victim of a nuclear Holocaust perpetrated by the Iranian regime. Now, as Prime Minister, I've made it clear time and again, Israel will never allow those who call for our annihilation to develop the means to achieve that goal. Tonight, Israel backs those words with action. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear enrichment program. We struck at the heart of Iran's nuclear weaponization program. We targeted Iran's main enrichment facility in Natanz. We targeted Iran's leading nuclear scientists working on the Iranian bomb. We also struck at the heart of Iran's ballistic missile program. Last year, Iran fired 300 ballistic missiles at Israel. Each of these missiles carries a ton of explosives and threatens the lives of hundreds of people. Soon, those missiles could carry a nuclear payload, threatening the lives not of hundreds, but of millions. Iran is gearing up to produce 10,000 of those ballistic missiles within 3 years. Now just imagine 10,000 tons of TNT landing on a country the size of New Jersey. This is an intolerable threat. It too must be stopped. Iran is now working on what it calls the new plan to destroy Israel. You see, the old plan failed. Iran and its proxies tried to encircle Israel with a ring of fire and to attack us with the horrible attack of October 7th. But the people of Israel, the soldiers of Israel, rose like lions to defend our country. We crushed Hamas, we devastated Hezbollah, we hit Iranian proxies in Syria and Yemen. And when Iran directly attacked us twice last year, we struck back inside Iran itself. Yet in defending ourselves, we also defend others. We defend our Arab neighbors. They too have suffered from Iran's campaign of chaos and carnage. Our actions against Iran's proxy Hezbollah led to the establishment of a new government in Lebanon and the collapse of Assad's murderous regime in Syria. The peoples of those two countries now have a chance for a different future, a better future. So too do the brave people of Iran, and I have a message for them. Our fight is not with you. Our fight is with the brutal dictatorship that has oppressed you for 46 years. I believe that the day of your liberation is near. And when that happens, the great friendship between our two ancient peoples will flourish once again. I want to assure the civilized world, we will not let the world's most dangerous regime get the world's most dangerous weapons. And Iran plans to give those weapons, nuclear weapons, to its terrorist proxies. That would make the nightmare of nuclear terrorism all too real. The increasing range of Iran's ballistic missiles would bring that nuclear nightmare to the cities of Europe and eventually to America. Remember, Iran calls Israel the small Satan. It calls America the great Satan. And this is why for decades, it's led millions in the chants of death to Israel and death to America. Today, Israel is responding to those genocidal calls with action and with a call of our own. Long live Israel and long live America. Our action will help make the world a much safer place. I want to thank President Trump for his leadership in confronting Iran's nuclear weapons program. He has made clear time and again that Iran cannot have a nuclear enrichment program. Today, it is clear that Iran is just buying for time. It refuses to agree to this basic requirement of peaceful nations. That is why we have no choice but to act. and act now. The hardest decision any leader has to make is to thwart a danger before it is fully materialized. Nearly a century ago, facing the Nazis, a generation of leaders failed to act in time. They were paralyzed by the horrors of World War I. They were determined to avoid war at all costs, and they got the worst war ever. They adopted a policy of appeasement. They closed their eyes and ears to all the warning signs. That failure to act resulted in World War II, the deadliest war in history. It claimed the lives of 60 million, including 6 million Jews, a third of my people. After that war, the Jewish people and the Jewish state vowed, never again. Well, never again is now. Today, Israel has shown that we have learned the lessons of history. When enemies vow to destroy you, believe them. When enemies build weapons of mass death, stop them. As the Bible teaches us, when someone comes to kill you, rise and act first. This is exactly what Israel has done today. We have risen like lions to defend ourselves. Over 3,000 years ago, Moses gave the people of Israel a message that has steeled their resolve ever since. Be strong and courageous, he said. Today, our strong and courageous soldiers and people stand together to defend ourselves against those who seek our destruction. And by defending ourselves, we defend many others, and we roll back a murderous tyranny. Generations from now, history will record that our generation stood its ground, acted in time, and secured our common future. May God bless Israel. May God bless the forces of civilization everywhere.
Well, I mean, that was the statement of a great leader who is, to whom we owe a great debt of gratitude for having wiped out the Israeli, obstacles, the obstacles to Israel of Hezbollah, Hamas, and Syria, obstacles to the United States as well. AP is reporting that that Iranian state television says the head of Iran's paramilitary Revolutionary Guard is feared dead after an Israeli attack. The report offered few other details about what happened to General Hossein Salami of the Guard. Now, the Iranian Guard is Soleimani's group that focused on killing Americans in Iraq. The report on air added that one other top Guard official, as well as 2 nuclear scientists, were also feared dead. So that answers my question as to why they attacked Tehran, to get those guys. State television also reported the attack set the headquarters of Iran's Revolutionary Guard on fire. Multiple sites in the capital had been hit in the attack. Multiple sites in the capital. They're not fooling around. Benjamin Netanyahu said targeted both nuclear and military sites and officials leading Iran's nuclear program and its ballistic missile arsenal. That's the arsenal that we put on Ali Reza Chef Sadardi to describe to you the other night, which he did in great detail. Israel attacked Iran's capital early Friday with explosions moving across Tehran, as Israel said it targeted nuclear and military sites. The attack comes as tensions have reached new heights over Iran's rapidly advancing nuclear program. The Board of Governors at the International Atomic Energy Agency, for the first time in 20 years on Thursday, censured Iran over it not working with its inspectors. Iran immediately announced it would establish a 3rd enrichment site in the country and swap out some centrifuges for more advanced ones. So I do have one. I do have one picture for you, if you want put it up, and it's and that's one of the strikes. It's one of the strike. I can't do it on full screen. It doesn't move. It just stays like that. So we'll have to put it up the way it is. It's from AP. There it is. That's a one of the, looks like a fairly big strike. And again, the targets in Tehran, the targets in Tehran were facilities, as well as the major military components that supported the nuclear program. So taking out the head of the Revolutionary Guard right away, and that's like taking out the head of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, or the head of the SS. Maybe would be a better analogy for people to understand. Now we can put this map up, which we can enhance quite a bit. There we go. Alrighty. Now, if you want to take a look at this, we can help you see what's going on. So, there is Israel. Okay? There's Iran. There's Tehran, the capital. So multiple hits there. In here, that's very approximate, is the desert that contains the facilities that were working furiously on extending the range of the rockets to deliver nuclear bombs. Now, the nuclear bombs are located, the one furthest away from Israel would be over here. I marked it out on a previous show. And very intelligently, of course, Iran placed it close to another country, so that it would be risky to hit it. Right across from Oman. But they a few months ago, when Israel responded to Iran's attack, they were able to bomb right over here. So there's no question that they were telling Iran, we can hit your furthest away nuclear enrichment facility. Now, remember, several months ago, when Trump came into office, we delivered a significant number of their we delivered an additional number of bunker buster bombs to them, and we also lifted the prohibition that Biden had put on using them, and so did so did NATO. And so for some time now, Bibi has had the permission to use them. I have to assume they're being used right now, because those massive bunker busting bombs that can only be delivered in certain large military aircraft are exactly the ones that can take out the facilities, because they can go deep into the ground. And I'm sure Israel has the exact number of feet that are necessary. But one of the places they'll hit will be here, right over here. Another one will be about right here. Pardon me? I can try. Okay, so if we could put it on. So I know you got a lot of red things there, but there's Israel, right there. That's the border of Iran. We know they've hit Tehran multiple times. That it's reported that they've taken out the head of the Iranian Guard. I presume they're doing multiple bombings in this area here, which is the area it's the area that Ali Reza described the other night, where they have discovered significantly larger facilities, many, many more facilities that are highly obscured for the extension of the range of rockets, which is a sure sign that they were getting ready to develop not only nuclear bombs, but the delivery systems to get them not just to Israel, but across the ocean to the United States. I'm sure that's one of the things that brought about this attack. But in addition to that, the facilities that would be originally part, and we don't know how long. We don't know how long Israel has. We don't know how long Israel has known about this, right? We revealed it the other night, but don't put anything beyond the capacity of the Mossad, particularly in Iran. You say, well, they missed the attack from Hamas. Yeah, but that Hamas is small potatoes. I mean, compared to Iran, for the last 40 years plus, has been on their radar as wanting to destroy them. And as I told you, unless he's changed it on Bibi Netanyahu's wall, an entire wall of his office is a massive map about 20 times the size of that one of Iran. And it's got all kinds of dots on it. And I never asked him what the dots were. I don't think he would tell me, but I think I knew what they were. And one of the dots is the one you see in the corner there, right there. I am virtually certain they hit that. I'm almost certain they hit over here, where Natanz is. Natanz was the first nuclear facility uncovered by MEK in 2003 and began this whole thing. Then they uncovered 4 or 5 more, and instead of taking them out right away, Obama empowered them and gave them a vast amount of money, including in cash. And then Trump had pretty much bankrupted them, and Biden brought them back to the tune of plus $100 billion. Exactly why we were financing Iran when they were killing us is hard to understand. It seems to me that it's treason. Sorry. No, I'm not sorry. I'm sorry for us. So, but there are several others there. They placed them really near they've got one near Turkey, up around here. Now, I don't know if that's a nuclear enrichment facility or a base from which to strike Israel. But there's a facility up near Turkey, so that if you bombed it, you'd run the risk of maybe hitting Turkey. So they do put their facilities, aside from Natanz, which is right in the middle of Iran, at places where it becomes perilous if you're not totally precise in hitting. But the only ones I can be absolutely certain of are the ones that are reported, Tehran, that one right there, and Natanz, which has a great history with the Israelis, and the facilities here in the southeastern part of Iran. I'm sure that those are the facilities that were hit. The one I'm talking about is this one down here. Let me just bring it up so you can see it right there. That one. So I would say, I'm sure they hit a lot more than that, but those are the certain ones. We know they hit Tehran multiple times. We know for sure they're going to take out Natanz. We know for sure they're going to take out the facilities in across the water from Oman and the UAE. And I would say pretty certain that they hit the desert facilities, but I'm not as certain because they're not as of immediate concern. The most immediate concern is to destroy the enrichment facilities, the facilities to extend the range of missiles. Well, if the missiles have no bombs to deliver, they're just missiles. Although they could be used to deliver something less than nuclear arms. So there still is a concern that you destroy that. But remember, you got to listen to the words carefully. Both the general and Netanyahu said they're going to hit the nuclear facilities and military installations that support that. And Iranian officials. It looks like they've been successful with a couple in Tehran. You know who the major one has to be, right? And nobody should even argue about whether the Israelis believe it's justified to take out the Ayatollah, since we took out Soleimani. The Ayatollah is completely responsible for every one of Soleimani's killings of Americans and Israelis, plus a lot more. So if it was justified for us to take out Soleimani, it sure as hell is justified for Israel to take out the Ayatollah. Boy, would they do the world a favor by doing that. The guy should, Bibi should be given the Nobel Peace Prize if he takes out the Ayatollah. I mean, they'd rather give it to Arafat, but this would really, I'm telling you, that one act alone means that within, maybe it would take a year or so to all calm down. But before Trump leaves office, we would have a perfect peace in the Middle East. They're not just the biggest obstacle to peace in the Middle East. They may very well be the only obstacle to peace. Well, maybe some of the out of control terrorist groups, but they don't really play any kind of political role in stopping things, and they're under serious attack anyway. So I don't think they could exercise the kind of influence that a nation that potentially could be enormously wealthy and certainly is important to the world with regard to the delivery of oil and natural gas. Price of oil is up already, which unfortunately will help Russia continue their war in Ukraine, because Russia depends almost entirely on oil revenues. As to everything else, it's a useless economy. It's a pretty shitty economy anyway. But let's see if we can get any more information on updates on what's happened.
Well, we are hearing that all of Iran's entire top military staff may have been taken out. These are just reports.
You mean they're like their Pentagon staff?
Yes.
What would be the Joint Chiefs of Staff and
yes,
whatever the hell they have. I mean, they're little automatons of the grand leader.
Right.
I don't know, if I was one of their hostages, I'd be cheering right now, huh? An American hostage from 45 years ago. Right. I'd be cheering like hell right now, wouldn't you?
Yes.
Or if my kid were killed by Soleimani and the Guard in Iraq, I'd be cheering. And I don't even know if you know for sure, who they killed and who they didn't kill. They were more effective than the Iraqis in opposing us. Now, I don't know how much better Iran has become as a military force. Remember, they fought Iraq for 7 years, and neither side moved beyond the border much. It ended in a tie. How long did it take us to defeat Iraq? A couple of weeks?
Right.
Twice. I mean, it was like one of those detective movies where you keep hitting the guy, and he goes down, and then you hit him again, and he goes down again, and you hit him again, and he goes down again.
Right. So yeah, we're following this closely. There's a lot of information coming in fast.
Pardon me?
A lot of information coming in fast. Australia and New Zealand have condemned the attacks.
Well, wait. Australia?
Yes.
And New Zealand?
Yes.
Well, New Zealand's very left wing. Screw them. Right. You can't think about Australia and New Zealand when a country wants to eliminate you.
Right.
I mean, if I were Bibi, he finally got an opportunity to do what he's wanted to do. Thank God. Thank God for the world. This is completely warped. It's completely warped that people aren't saying thank you for taking out this monster who wanted to get a nuclear weapon. Are you crazy? Yes. We're going to see what... Well, updates.
Iranian state television shows a plume of black smoke rising from Iran's nuclear, not Natanz nuclear enrichment facility.
Well, that's another one I got right. I said they'd hit Natanz. Now let's see if they hit the Semnon Desert.
Yeah.
That's questionable. I don't know if I would do that in the first. If there's any kind of choices you have to make in terms of what you hit first and what you hit second.
Right.
I take out all the nuclear enrichment facilities where there's 60% enriched uranium. I take that. I would hopefully in the first strike get rid of all that,
right,
so they don't have a nuclear response possible. Now that area right there, that's the area where the facilities are for what you're seeing on the map there. If they're seeing the map, the Semnon province is where the missile facilities are. The facilities to develop the missiles that can deliver the weapons, which have been, and these here have been hidden until just well, we found out about it 2 days ago. I would assume that both Israel and the United States picked it up well before that. Although the increased intensity of the reports that there would be a strike pretty much followed the release of that information. The reason that's true is, although you'd have to be a fool to have been confused by this, but we have a lot of fools. That really completely destroys the excuse that was being used by the Ayatollah and his regime, that they were doing, they wanted the peaceful use of nuclear power. Now, all you need is about 2 or 3% enhancement for the peaceful use of nuclear power. They're at 60. There's no nation in the world that does not have nuclear weapons that's anywhere near 60%. France is well below that, and France is, by and large, their energy, maybe 70 to 80% of it depends on nuclear facilities. And they're not anywhere near that. And second, France doesn't have oil and gas. Iran has most of it.
Yeah.
They have endless amount of it. And there's absolutely no reason for them to have a nuclear facility other than to use it as a front. In fact, they have one and they hardly use it. They have two. One is inoperative and the other they hardly use. it would stand to reason, right? They're an oil and gas. Here's some live updates. Let's see.
Yep, we've been following live updates. I'm getting them up on the screen. That's what I've been kind of focused on, trying to keep people up to the minute.
Yeah, you want to look at this?
What's happening
this is from the New York Times, actually. And that's Tehran being hit.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's a big hit. I mean, that's going to impact everyone in the city.
Well, no, it looks like it's going toward a particular target.
Well, I mean, people are going to notice it, right?
Yeah, they're going to get to see it.
Not going to kill everyone, but you would definitely see that bright. We would see the flash if that happened anywhere near here, right?
Anybody want to make a guess where the Ayatollah is?
Oh, do you think he got?
Where do you think they put him? Below ground somewhere?
Yeah. Do you think he was even there? I mean,
he's
always hiding, isn't he?
You think he really believes that dying for the cause sends you right up to heaven? If he did believe it, he'd be right out there like Winston Churchill was. He wouldn't be hiding like a scared little rabbit, right?
Right.
He already says he wants his son to take over. So he's got somebody to take over if his son doesn't get taken out.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a pretty good hit. So I would say I wasn't sure they would hit Tehran right away. But it makes sense, right? It makes sense that you want to do two things, right? With the first hit, you want to take out all of their nuclear capacity. God willing, you did that because you don't want them to have the capacity to respond with a nuclear weapon because they might be crazy enough to do it. And then you're really playing chicken with your defensive system, your ability to stop their missiles. Israel has been terrific at that, but they haven't faced Iranian missiles, nor have they had the stakes as high as a nuclear weapon. So you want to take out their nuclear facilities first. That's priority number one. But if you can take out their military command, that's a heck of a big step toward reducing their responsive capability. And also, apparently, they targeted, as they did in the past, nuclear scientists. They were so effective in the past in taking out nuclear scientists that they had created like a 5-year lull in the program. By the way, that's all costs hundreds of billions of dollars when you have to replace that. Now, to put this back together again, I mean, you'd say, oh, well, Iran can start rebuilding it. Yeah, we're going to take a year, 2 years, more than that probably, and it's going to ruin their economy. It's going to cost trillions of dollars to put that back together again. That's why the idea of Obama and Biden used to say, well, it makes no sense to take out their nuclear, they'll just build it again. Like hell, it makes no sense. It makes all the sense in the world. For them to rebuild their nuclear capacity with an economy that's will crush them. I don't know how people buy that crap from these Democrat traitors. You give money to Iran and you're a damn traitor. Sorry. They kill too many Americans not to be a traitor. And I'm talking about giving them, a $5 donation. I'm talking about billions of dollars and with Obama in cash, for which he should be in jail for the rest of his life. Heather McDonald wrote an article, and Heather McDonald is an old friend and a great journalist in the City Journal, in which she points out that Trump, in dealing with what's going on in the world and as well as domestically, with the invasion, with the illegals that are the major priority of the Democrat Party to keep here and to get more of them, that Trump is defending civilization. Standing by during violence only allows it to spread. Violence meant to inhibit the execution of the laws is a death knell for civilization. That is exactly what these protests are for. To stop the execution of the immigration laws of the United States. And to make us a country that will no longer be a country. It'll be a country defined by who comes in. What uncivilized large numbers of criminals or animals get to come in. It's a death knell for civilization. The president's unapologetic defense of the law this weekend represented liberation from a poisonous set of lies. There's no one that knows more about domestic urban law enforcement from a policy point of view than Heather McDonald. And I would say she's just as sound on defending our national security. So you should try to get this article in the City. The City Journal is the publication of the Manhattan Institute. Probably one of the best publications that there is. I mean, certainly as good as, if not better than, the Heritage Foundation. And a little bit more geared toward urban issues, but also, you know, quite good, as you can see, on issues of national security. One of the things that I've been meaning to bring up with you, because there have been so many warnings about this, that I hope we're taking it seriously, and that is that after what Ukraine did to Russia, which was devastating with their drone attack, which cost pennies compared to the facilities they took out, which cost billions, are we defended properly, meaning the United States, against that kind of a massive drone attack? Remember, our defenses have always been, when we think of the Golden Dome, right? We think of being attacked by air or possibly by sea. We don't think about they're infiltrating the United States, and we gave them 4 years of doing it at will. Infiltrating the United States the way Ukraine infiltrated Russia, which had to be harder than getting into the US under Biden, where he would help you bring the weapons in. And you're bringing in trucks. So you get the trucks in, or you develop them here, you get the people in. The drones cost something in the hundreds of thousands of dollars. And you could develop them while you were here, or you could smuggle them in. I mean, if you haven't done it already, it might be a little tougher now that we got control over the border. But 2 years ago, been no problem. All you do is pay the relevant cartel, the Sinaloa cartel, $400,000 or $500,000. You bring in all the drones you want. And you bring them in those areas that we don't patrol. And we haven't been able to build a fence because of the Democrats. And you'd have them in here. They'd be here now. And since the Chinese own a lot of land right next to our bases, which we stupidly allowed them to buy, you got a lot of places you can put those trucks. And then all you have to do is set off one of these drones and blow up our aircraft, which are sitting out on an airfield. So this has been raised in several thoughtful articles over the last since the Ukrainian attack, and it's been a kind of encouragement or exhortation or warning that America better ramp up its defenses against this. And there are defenses. Lasers are enormously effective against drones. Part of our problem here are our laws. States, as we found out in New Jersey, don't have the authority to take down drones. And even the federal government has to go through a whole process in taking down a drone. That should be changed. They should have authority to act against drones like they would be able to act against threats in the street. We should have a whole national system of total defense against drone strikes on military facilities or on cities. Just the way, I mean, part of the Golden Dome has to be a golden dome against drones. And it's possible. But it's, again, expensive and requires a great deal of concentration. When we're under the gun, when we're under pressure to develop one of these things, and somebody like Trump, leads it, who operates on Trump time, we'll get this done in a lot faster period of time than people think it can be done. But we got to concentrate on it, and we've got to look at what happened in Russia and say that could happen to us. And we're a lot more vulnerable to it than Russia is, given what Biden did to us for 4 years and the Democrats did to us for the last 4 years. It's one of the many consequences of their traitorous activity that we're going to live with for some time. And allowing us to have no defense of any kind at the border is both traitorous, and it constituted an invited invasion of this country, which empowers the president to use our military to defend against it. And this judge in San Francisco saying that the government lawyers know there are limits in the Constitution is really a hypocritical ass, because the limit in the Constitution here is against the judiciary. They are not supposed to interfere with the political branches of government in areas that are given to the political branches of government. The limit is against the judiciary here in the separation of powers. Not that judges think they have any limits. As the judge I clerk for said, when they get the robes, many of them think they were appointed by God. Well, or maybe Satan. You might have a group that think they were appointed by Satan, given the way they rule now.
Well, Mayor, we have more breaking news tonight.
Well, why don't we, we'll have to wrap up pretty soon.
We have U.S. District Court Judge Charles Breyer orders President Trump to stop deploying the National Guard to Los Angeles and to hand control over to Governor Gavin Newsom.
Wow. There's no way he's going to do that.
This goes into effect noon Friday. Might have to move my trip over to LA up a day. I might have to get out there.
It got to be that the Ninth Circuit's going to stay that. That is a you're talking about an anti-constitutional, anti-democratic decision. That's it, right? So the Constitution empowers the president to conduct the foreign policy of the United States and the immigration enforcement of the United States with the Congress. And the Congress has passed laws making it illegal for people to come into the United States. And he's enforcing those laws. And the state is not cooperating, which is why he's using the National Guard. Second, the judiciary has no role in assessing this situation. The check and balance on the president in this particular situation is the Congress, not the judiciary. The judiciary does not have unlimited power. They do not have unlimited power. And there are areas that are not given to them. All of the great Supreme Court justices recognize this. I don't know where this guy went to law school, not in America. He's actually telling the commander-in-chief what to do with his armed forces. What's happened to us? The judge is crazy. I don't even know. I can't imagine. But, anything is possible in the Ninth Circuit. So they better be ready. Check who the circuit judge from the Supreme Court is for the Ninth Circuit. You know, it used to be Breyer. Used to be his brother. A few years ago, if the Ninth Circuit went along with the crazy brother, the first appeal would be to Breyer. Who's the circuit justice for the Ninth Circuit? Because they probably can get there fast enough. In a situation like this, which would be a national emergency, it might even be possible to skip the Ninth Circuit and go right to the Supreme Court. And I don't, if you had the right judge, what? I'm looking for the Supreme Court justice who is the, no. The circuit justice. The Supreme Court justice, Supreme Court. Nope, justice. Yeah, for Ninth Circuit. If you put that in, you might get it. You might get it that way. Oh. I don't know. She's very smart. She's very smart. She is, she knows the law. And then it becomes a question of her political ideology on the one hand and her knowledge of the law on the other. This is clear as hell. Believe me, this is clear as hell. The court has absolutely no role here. If the court had a role here, the court would be unlimited. It'd be a branch of government that has no limits on it. Even the ability to declare laws unconstitutional. It's not in the Constitution. Justice Marshall created it, and we've gone along with it for centuries. But there's nothing. The founding fathers did not give the Supreme Court clearly the right to declare laws unconstitutional. Marshall created it with almost the same black magic that they created Roe against Wade. And it seemed like something that the founding fathers should have done, because somebody has to be a referee on what's constitutional and what's not. But that doesn't give them the ability to oversee. They're not the overseer of the other two branches of government. They're a co-equal branch. I mean, there are many American presidents who believed that they had a right to make their own determinations on constitutionality. That the Constitution doesn't clearly give the court the right to decide on constitutionality, and that the president has the right to make his own decision on constitutionality. Now, as an academic argument, it's not a bad argument. As a practical argument, it's a ridiculous argument. In most cases, you have to have a referee, but here you do. You have Congress as the check on the president here, because these powers were specifically given to the president, and to the extent they were shared at all, they were shared like declaring war. The president has to ask Congress to do it. But once they do, then the president carries out the war. And a court, suppose a court decided that the president acted improperly in asking for a declaration of war. Well, that's for the Congress to decide, not the court. I don't know. I don't know why I went to law school. They have completely destroyed, and it really, they passed themselves off as intellectuals, and they're very dishonest intellectuals. This is a shocking decision in a whole string of decisions that starts to convince you that there is something systemically wrong with our judiciary, that it has become just a political body, that it has nothing to do with the Constitution. And for them to argue that this is anti-democratic when the American people made a decision on this. I mean, the only thing you can call democratic is the will of the people. Well, to the extent that we can discern the will of the people is to throw these people the hell out of the country. And Trump certainly isn't surprising people with doing this. I mean, if you knew one thing that Trump was going to do, you knew that if he became president, he's going to throw these people out of the country. What he was going to do about Iran, what he was going to do about Ukraine, you kind of knew, but not for sure. What he was going to do about taxes, well, we knew what he was going to do, but Congress, finally gets to say on that. But we knew that immediately upon coming into office, he was going to begin aggressively throwing them out of the country. And given the level of crime they had created, and the unknown factor of how many terrorists are here, and how many criminals are here, and because we don't have any idea, and the fact that this was an assault on our culture, our civilization, our government, and virtually an invasion. We had more people come in illegally in 4 years than came in 20 or 30 years legally. So these claims that they're fighting for democracy, they're fighting against democracy. Democracy isn't just a vague concept. It's a reality. It's a reality when you have an election. And to the extent that you have all these resources to judge the will of the American people, the thing they most support Trump on is his immigration policy. And it's consistent with the law. We may not like the law, some of us. We may say, oh, gee, the law with regard to illegals who come in and don't commit crimes isn't fair. I don't see how it's unfair, but people will say it's not fair. That may be so, but it's still the law. And again, the president went to the people with this, and the people voted for him. And every single person who voted for him, unless they were, automatons, if they knew one thing about Trump, it goes back to the wall, and they knew he was going to be really tough on immigration. So, but instead of the will of the American people, we get the will of the American wacky left wing as embodied in the bow tie judge who says, I'm really the president. I'm really the commander in chief. I can tell the president, give those National Guard back to the guy who did such a great job with the fires. Wow. And remember, they brought this case deliberately in San Francisco. There's a fix. Of course, this case should have been brought in Los Angeles. Should have been brought before the Central District of California. So you have the Southern District of California, which is San Diego, and you have the Central District, which is Los Angeles, and you have the Northern District, which is wacky, crazy, insane, left-wing, chop your genitals off San Francisco. And I'm sure they calculated they'd have a much better chance of getting a whack judge in San Francisco than in Los Angeles, or they got the fix in with the clerk. Oh, well, are you kidding me? Don't do the, oh, well. They got the fix in. Newsom's not going to take a chance on losing his case. You get it. Probably they picked him as the guy, be the wackiest lefty they got. They looked at the bow tie and they said, that's the guy. Look at him. He looks like he's wacky. All right, Ted. See if we can get an update and we'll call it quits at 11. We've been on endlessly and we're probably wearing out our welcome. But we're trying to get you as much of this information as we can so that it isn't hidden from you. I'm sure this is being presented by the left wing as some horrible attack by Israel on those poor people in Iran who kill so many Americans. Gee, well, let's let them kill more. Somebody should say thank you. Well, I'm going to do it. Thank you, Bibi Netanyahu, for doing the job that we should have done a long time ago. Long time ago. If we did it a long time ago, there'd be a lot of Americans alive today that aren't. And I do not understand the reluctance in taking out this Ayatollah when we took out Soleimani. I don't understand it. I think this is very, I do think this is very shrewdly positioned by the president and Rubio. And assuming Israel has the capacity we think they have, it'll work. But this really puts just how far this goes in the hands of the Ayatollah or whoever the hell takes over if he's taken out or he decides to hide below ground. And the big decision that we got to look at, well, there are two really. The big decision is, do they hit an American facility, as they said they would? The second decision is, what is their capacity for hitting Israel back? And if they do have such a capacity, how much do they want to escalate this? Because Israel has a goal right now. And the goal is to, I would say, to take out their nuclear enrichment facilities, their delivery capacity, and their military. I think they want to destroy their military. They don't want to destroy Iran. If they ratchet it up, then Israel's goal changes. Hopefully, Israel has done enough damage already to their military capacity to limit what they can do. And if that's the case, they're fighting with one arm already chopped off. This is probably, so far, one of the most effective political strategists of our generation, given what he did to Hamas, the invincible Hezbollah, the enormously entrenched Assad. He basically took away the emperor's clothes. They were the proxies for Iran that now would hit Israel back, but they're dead. And they're gone and they're running. So the carrying out of the strike in igniting or exploding all of the devices, right, was so effective and so brilliant that the Ayatollah got rid of all their devices and got new ones. He was afraid they're going to blow up his, which tells me that he ain't sitting out there to get hit right now. He doesn't really believe in that paradise virgin thing. He believes in it for you as a loyal Muslim, but not him. Because he's hiding somewhere. He's too necessary to run the government. So he doesn't want to go up to paradise and get his reward of even if it's exaggerated a little, it's 72 virgins, maybe half. Sorry if I'm making fun of it, but the reality is it's an absurd. There's a whole area of the Quran that's completely absurd, that should be completely annihilated by the good Muslims, because the founder of their religion was a mass murderer and encouraged it. And they're doing what Muhammad told them to do, and more faithfully than other Muslims. And they believe that. And we say that's a misinterpretation of their religion. It only becomes a misinterpretation if you write out about a third of the Quran. Just strike it out, which is what should be done. It should be rejected by practicing Muslims. Muhammad's teaching on what to do with Jews, Christians, and infidels should be eliminated. And the truth about him should be told, including his pedophilia and the fact that he was a rather enthusiastic murderer, particularly of Jews and Christians. And this is what we're facing. We're facing in the Islamic State of Iran people who believe that fervently. Now, they would say to you, just read it, which is why decent Muslims should stand up against it. But they don't in any large number, do they? They enable it. They are all supporting Hamas. Hamas is, whether they're Muslim or not, Hamas is a murdering terrorist group. They're animals. The argument by a lot of the left-wing press that they didn't really hide below hospitals has completely been destroyed by finding Mohammed Sinwar's body 25 feet below a hospital. The only way you're going to eliminate the leader of Hamas is to eliminate the hospital. Well, he created that situation, not us, or the children who were killed, because they surround themselves with children, put themselves in a school. And who knows if they're telling the truth about the number of children that were killed. They don't tell the truth about anything else. So thank you, Bibi. God bless you. As we sign off tonight, we always ask people to pray. We're going to ask God, whose laws have been completely violated, destroyed, and made a mockery of by these Muslim terrorists, including what I would consider major sacrilege in the name of God. Dear God, please deliver us from this. You know, your people, Israel, we're always asking you to deliver them. Well, now it's not just Israel, it's the whole world asking you to deliver us from the threat of a nuclear weapon being in the hands of a maniac. It's bad enough it's in the hands of Russia and China. But we believe that they're evil but rational. We're not so sure about this Islamic Republic of Iran that operates in your name. But dear God, I really believe they're operating in the name of Satan. It can't possibly be that that you reveal yourself to a pedophile mass murderer, Muhammad. which is what they want you to believe. So please, dear God, watch over us, deliver us from a world war, and keep our soldiers that are in harm's way now safe, and keep the people of Israel safe. They're good people, dear God. They're good people. They're as good as we are. And they're very much like us, Americans. Good, honest, patriotic Americans I'm talking about. People who understand how important America is and love it. This is a people that were your chosen people who have gone through more persecutions and more discrimination and more than probably the rest of the world combined. So let's deliver them once again. And with them, the big Satan. You know we're not the big Satan. You know they are. So pray that this all works out well. This is a very, very perilous time, both domestically and abroad. And this is when we have to really thank you for giving us the wisdom to select Donald Trump and for keeping him alive in Butler County, which only happened because of you. So it's a bit of a lengthy prayer, but you got the point. So we're just going to take a moment of silence so that we can communicate with our Creator who watches over us, because this is the time we need him. And we need to recognize that we're made in his image and likeness. And then we'll say goodnight, and we'll be back on tomorrow, maybe earlier if we have to, okay? But we want to make sure that you get the real information about this, because there'll be a tremendous attempt to obscure this and to change it and to who knows what. They try to make Israel into the bad guy, which they've been very successful in doing to our detriment. So again, dear God, we pray to you to deliver us. And of course, good night now, and God bless America.
It's our purpose to bring to bear the principle of common sense and rational discussion to the issues of our day. America was created at a time of great turmoil, tremendous disagreements, anger, hatred. There was a book written in 1776 that guided much of the discipline of thinking that brought to us the discovery of our freedoms, of our God-given freedoms. It was Thomas Paine's Common Sense, written in 1776, one of the first American bestsellers, in which Thomas Paine explained, by rational principles, the reason why these small colonies felt the necessity to separate from the Kingdom of Great Britain and the King of England. He explained their inherent desire for liberty, for freedom, freedom of religion, freedom of speech, the ability to select the people who govern them. And he explained it in ways that were understandable to all the people, not just the elite. Because the desire for freedom is universal. The desire for freedom adheres in the human mind, and it is part of the human soul. This is exactly the time we should consult our history. Look at what we've done in the past and see if we can't use it to help us now. We understand that our founders created the greatest country in the history of the world, the greatest democracy, the freest country, a country that has taken more people out of poverty than any country ever. All of us are so fortunate to be Americans. But a great deal of the reason for America's constant ability to self-improve is because we're able to reason, we're able to talk, we're able to analyze. We are able to apply